What's up, everybody? Welcome to another recap of the 2022 NFL season. We're in week 17. Also, Happy New Year. We're in 2023. A whole another year has gone by, and a whole nother NFL season is almost coming to an end. Crazy. A lot of stuff happened this week. Teams clinching, teams eliminated. Some good, some bad. Just got to get right into it. Start with Thursday night's matchup between the Dallas Cowboys and the Tennessee Titans. This one wasn't really that close. The Titans choosing to rest most of their starters as they know that their Week 18 matchup against the Jags basically is for all the marbles, as they would say, for the AFC South title. Chose to start Josh Dobbs, made his first NFL start. Did okay, not great. Already been told that he's starting Week 18 against the Jags. Don't know how that's going to go. Game is in Jacksonville. They play Saturday night, so we'll know then who is going to be the AFC South champion. Still some things could happen where the Jags sneak in as the final wild card, even if they lose. But a lot of things have to happen. The other side, the Cowboys, they just beat a team that they needed to beat. They stay within striking distance of the NFC East title. Dak had a couple TDs. Defense played well. Probably allowed the Titans to hang in more than they should have, but Cowboys get the victory. It all comes down to Week 18 for them as well. Are they the 5th seed? Will they win the division? Maybe get the number 1 seed? We'll see. Cowboys, they get the victory over the Titans, 27-13. We go to Sunday's matchups. We start first with the Dolphins and the Patriots. Somehow the Patriots are still alive. I don't know how. It's the defense. Defense played well. Kyle Duggar had a pick 6. Mac Jones threw a couple TDs. And they just did enough. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater made the start. He went down. He got injured. Skylar Thompson had to come in. Those guys just aren't good for the Dolphins. But somehow they only lost by 2. But this is a scenario for both teams going into Week 18. Patriots beat the Bills. They're in the playoffs. Don't want that to happen because most likely, you either go to Kansas City or you go to Buffalo. We all know what happened to the Patriots last year when they played Buffalo in the playoffs. They got absolutely smacked, and I don't think anyone wants to go to Kansas City and get smacked. So, the Patriots lose to the Bills. The Dolphins beat the Jets. The Dolphins are in the playoffs. I don't know if Tua is playing. We'll have to wait and see. Dolphins can beat the Jets, but the Jets are streaky. We'll see what happens there. But Patriots, they get the win over the Dolphins 23-21. Next we go to the Cardinals and the Falcons. Not much really to write home about this game. Desmond Ridder gets his first NFL victory as a quarterback. He played decent, not great. This just came down to the Falcons had the ball last and drove down, and Younghoe Koo kicked a game-winning field goal. That's pretty much it from this game. Falcons get the victory over the Cardinals 20-19. Next we go to the Lions and the Bears. No matter what happens next week for the Lions, whether they get into the playoffs or not, because they're still in contention, this was a great season for the Lions. Dan Campbell, pat on the back. I really think that if they make the playoffs, he should be Coach of the Year, but they're going to give it to Brian Daboll. And I think that can be understandable. But, these Lions, offense, 41 points, Goff 3 TDs, Jamal Williams 144 yards and a touchdown. Offense is good. They just got to work on the defense. And they're going to have a top 5 pick in the draft thanks to the Rams with the Matthew Stafford trade. So they'll definitely shore up the defense. And then Goff, he played better this year. I think they could be a playoff team next year. I'm going to say it. Could be a playoff team this year, but they need some help. They need the Seattle Seahawks to lose, and they need to beat the Green Bay Packers. Now, the game against Green Bay has been flexed to Sunday Night Football, which will be exciting, and I can't wait to see that. On the other side of the ball, the Bears, probably going to get into the number 2 pick Not much excitement this year for the Bears besides Justin Fields. He had himself another 132 yards rushing and now only needs 64 yards to break Lamar Jackson's single season rushing record for a quarterback. I don't see why he wouldn't get that. I would think the Bears would play him to allow him to break that next year, and he could probably break that in the first half and then just sit him out for the rest of the game. So, Lions, great victory over the Bears. Need some magic to happen next week. We'll see what happens. Lions over Bears, 41-10. Next we go to Broncos and the Chiefs. Broncos held in as long as they could, but Russ threw a pick, and you knew it was coming. You knew they stayed in, but they weren't going to win this game. It's the Chiefs. Chiefs will find a way to win, and they did. Mahomes 3 touchdown passes. He most likely will be this year's NFL MVP. Maybe Allen, maybe Hurts if he didn't get injured, but I think it's going to be Mahomes. They're going to be good in the playoffs. Nothing else to say. Broncos, on the other hand, they gave up their pick to Seattle, which sucks because it's going to be a top 5 pick. They got to find a coach. Get this offense settled, have Russ play better. That's all it is. Chiefs over the Broncos, 27-24. Next we go to the Giants and the Colts. Congratulations to the New York Football Giants. They clinch a playoff berth for the first time since 2016. And I all but think Daniel Jones has locked himself into another contract. I'm thinking a 2-year deal, maybe a team option for a 3rd year. He played well. 2 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns. Yes, it's the Colts, but still, you never know how you're going to react in these games, needing a win. And they dominated the Colts. So good for the Giants. We'll see what happens in the playoffs. Most likely, right now, we'll have to go to Minnesota, which they played on New Year's Eve. And, it was a close victory for the Vikings, but I think the Giants will feel good knowing that they can contend with the Vikings. Colts, on the other hand, what a shitty season for them. Yes, there's one more week, but, 3 quarterbacks, all of them have sucked. I think we can all agree that trading for Matt Ryan was a mistake. And latest mock drafts have them drafting C.J. Stroud out of Ohio State, which I think makes sense. They need a QB of the future. I don't know, 9 QBs since Andrew Luck retired in 2017? And only Phillip Rivers in his 1 year in 2020 was good enough. So we will see what happens with them, but we know for the Giants, their season is continuing. Most likely going to rest their starters next week, and we will see them in the playoffs as the 6th seed. Giants over the Colts, 38-10. Next we go to the Saints and the Eagles. Tough loss for the Eagles. They just needed to win to clinch the NFC East and the number 1 seed, but they are still alive for both of those things in Week 18. They just got to win. They play the Giants. They might get lucky, considering the Giants might rest their starters. We don't know about Jalen Hurts. Haven't heard anything as of yet. So it'll be interesting to see if he plays. Hopefully he can go, and hopefully the game will be over by halftime, that they can rest him. But Eagles need to win. Plain and simple, Cowboys are breathing down their neck. They lose, Cowboys win. Cowboys are the champions. Eagles most likely then slide to the 5 seed. And for a season that has gone so well, that is the last thing you want to have happen. You want that first round bye. All comes down to next week. Good victory for the Saints. They are now eliminated, but always a good victory over a top team. So Saints get the victory over the Eagles, 20-10. Next we go to the Panthers and the Bucks. Congrats to the Bucks. They are the 2022 NFC South champions, back-to-back division champs. I think it's Tom Brady's 19th division championship in his career. Crazy. It's almost a guarantee at this point. Panthers, they hung in. They played tough, close game. But when you have Mike Evans, as Tom Brady does, you throw to Mike Evans, as Tom Brady did, good things can happen. Mike Evans goes for over 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. This guy's a stud. He's now, I think, his 8th season over 1,000 yards receiving. I mean, this guy's a future Hall of Famer, without a doubt. So, Bucks, they are division champions. They lock up the 4 seed. Most likely will host the Cowboys in the playoffs. Could be the Eagles. We'll see. But we'll see them in the playoffs. Carolina eliminated with this loss. They need a coach too. Some are saying Steve Wilks. The players responded well to him. Apparently, ownership wants to interview Jim Harbaugh. We'll see how that goes. But that's what it comes down to. They need a coach. Probably need a QB of the future as well. Might give Sam Darnold a run next year, but that's about it. Bucks, they get the victory over the Panthers, 30-24. Next we go to the Browns and the Commanders. Good victory for the Browns. Deshaun Watson finally played well, 3 touchdowns, and they played spoiler. With this loss, the Commanders are now out of the playoffs. Commanders. Everyone had such high hopes at the beginning of the year. Carson Wentz, he sucked. Taylor Heineke came in, some good moments, but another team that needs a QB of the future. They just can't get it right for whatever reason. I don't know what's going on, but Browns have to feel good. Hopefully they can get one last victory to close out the year and, really look good for next year and be a contender with Deshaun Watson for a full season. So good for them. Commanders, always in disarray, but that's to be expected of the team in the nation's capital. Browns get the victory over the Commanders, 24-10. Go to the Jags and the Texans. Jags didn't really need to win the game, but good victory for them. They demolished the worst team in the league. Got some momentum going into Saturday night's matchup against the Titans. As I mentioned previously, the winner of that game wins the AFC South. The Jags can still sneak into the wild card. They just need Patriots, Dolphins, and Steelers to lose. So anything's possible, but I think the Jags would rather take that victory over the Titans. It's in Jacksonville. It's going to be Saturday night, primetime game. Duval County, Jacksonville, they haven't had that type of atmosphere in a while, so it's going to be exciting to watch. I'm pulling for the Jags. I think the Jags are going to do it. They're going to be the champs of the AFC South, get into the playoffs, I think the first time since 2017. So we'll see. But for this week, the Jags, they get a dominant victory over the Texans, 31-3. We go to the Raiders and the 49ers. Good back and forth game considering Derek Carr was benched. Jared Stidham got the start. Stidham had 3 touchdowns, 2 to Devontae Adams, 1 to Darren Waller. Also had 2 picks. And at the end, the 49ers, just the more complete team. Brock Purdy, 2 tutties. Christian McCaffrey, over 100 yards rushing and a TD. They get the game-winning field goal in overtime. And the 49ers are now into the number 2 seed, which is good. Good for them. This is a dangerous team, as I've been saying, come playoff time. 49ers, that is. I don't think anyone wants to play them. I wouldn't want to play them personally. It all depends on how Purdy does, but you got the playmakers around him to really shine. That defense, dominant. I don't see a reason why they can't make the Super Bowl. We'll see. A couple weeks till playoffs. We'll know. 49ers get the victory over the Raiders, 37-34 in overtime. Next we go to the Vikings and the Packers. 49ers were able to get into the 2nd seed because of this loss by the Vikings, and it was a demoralizing loss. The Packers absolutely ripped the Vikings to shreds. This game was over by halftime. Not really close. Kirk got a couple TDs late at the end. This is all about the Packers. Dominant. Rodgers, Dillon, defense, pick six. Just dominant victory. And as it pains me to say this, with all the other losses going on, the Packers are within striking distance of the playoffs. All they need to do next week is win, and they're in. Crazy to think about with the season, how Rodgers hasn't looked well, hasn't connected with his receivers. They have a chance to make the playoffs, and anything can happen in the playoffs. I don't think anyone wants to see Rodgers make it, but they beat the Lions on Sunday Night Football. They are in. So I'm rooting for the Lions. No offense, Aaron Rodgers. But Packers, they get the dominant victory over the Vikings, 41-17. Go the Seahawks and the Jets. Jets are eliminated from playoff contention with this loss. Wasn't really close. Seahawks got a good victory. Geno Smith, 2 touchdowns. Kenneth Walker, over 100 yards receiving. Seahawks are currently in the number 7 spot for the NFC right now. And all it is they got to win. They play the Rams. The Seahawks win, and the Lions beat the Packers. Seahawks will make the playoffs. Seahawks play at 4:25 on Sunday, so first they have to win, and then they will be watching that Sunday night game to see what happens with their fate. Seattle's a kind of a streaky team, and I think they're set up well for next season. No, I don't think anyone really expected them to contend for a playoff berth. Everyone thought last place in the NFC West, but good for them. Good for Pete Carroll. Lets them know that, hey, you don't need Russ. But again, another team comes down the next week. This week, though, they get the victory over the Jets, 23-6. We go to the Rams and the Chargers, the Battle of LA. Chargers take this one. Baker Mayfield not really able to do much in this game. Chargers, they roll. They're looking good. They're going to be the number 6 seed in the playoffs. Most likely have to go to Cincinnati for the first playoff game, which will be electric. Top 2 quarterbacks taken in the 2020 NFL Draft. It'll be a duel, and I'm excited to see it. Bengals, they get the victory. Not the Bengals. Chargers, they get the victory over the Rams, 31-10. Go to Sunday Night Football between the Steelers and the Ravens. Somehow the Steelers are still alive. I don't know. They're 8-8. They need to win next week to assure Mike Tomlin does not have a losing season for the first time. And it's possible. I mean, if the Patriots lose to the Bills, which honestly is probably going to happen, and if the Jets beat the Dolphins, which, again, could happen, and if the Steelers win this upcoming Sunday, they make the playoffs. We all know what happened last year. They snuck in as the 7th seed. Same thing could happen again this year. Unbelievable. But kudos to Mike Tomlin. He is a great coach. He gets the most out of his players. And even if they don't make the playoffs, if they get a win and don't get a losing record, I mean, that's incredible. Absolutely incredible. We'll see what happens next week for them. Steelers, they get the victory over the Ravens. Ravens, most likely are going to be the wild card. They'll be the 5th seed. They need Lamar to come back. Hopefully he does next week. But if not, they definitely need him for the playoffs. Steelers over the Ravens, 16-13. Finally, for Monday Night Football, we had a very tragic event happen. Damar Hamlin made a tackle midway through the first quarter. Ended up suffering, having cardiac arrest, needed CPR to be revived, was brought to a hospital, and the game was postponed. NFL has already determined that they won't resume the game this week, and I think that's rightfully so. Damar's, doing well, but all the prayers to him. I hope he, gets better. You hate to see that. These guys put their lives on the line to play the game that they love, and you would hate for something tragic like this to happen. So, all the prayers to Damar Hamlin. Just hope he gets better. Hopefully, he can, get out of the hospital soon, be back home with family. and cheer on his Buffalo Bills as they make a push to the Super Bowl. That's it for Week 17. Still have a lot to get to for Week 18. The final playoff spot for the AFC, the 7th seed, that is, the AFC South champion. For the AFC, for the NFC, the final spot between the Packers, Seahawks, and Lions. The AFC East title, are the Eagles going to get it? Is it going to be the Cowboys? Who knows? But a lot of great stuff happening coming into the last week, which is great for football fans. We get some good games to round out the season before the playoffs start. As always, I'll see y'all next week for the last week of the season. It's going to be wild. See y'all next week.